A calm morning to you and welcome to Waves Breakfast, hashtag what are you saying? The ultimate breakfast show for young and vibrant minds. Is the last Friday of the month of May 2025. And by tomorrow, we'll be bidding goodbye to May and welcome to June. I don't know about you, but I sure have mixed feelings with how the year is going by so fast. 1 minute it was December, the next minute we're like in the middle of 2025 already. So for some people, you're either doing just fine or going in a limbo. For me, I know that I'm going in a limbo, but it's not a funny one. But we'll be all right. That's what a lot of people say, and I guess that we'll be on all right eventually. On a fresh note, today is our book review. We're reviewing another book today, and every last Friday of every month is our book review. And yes, of course, we have a packed show for you today. Surprisingly, I'm just hearing this morning that we have gotten to 4K subscribers. So thank you, 4,000 people that have been watching us, following us. We love you so much, so much. Every morning with us is a day to learn, unlearn. We learn topics that drive change. We talk about politics and national interest, trending issues and social commentary, physical, mental, and total awareness, tech trends and innovation, financial literacy, and of course, youth empowerment. You can tune in every Monday morning to Friday for fresh perspectives, engaging discussions, and inspiring stories. Remember, you are always going to be the main ingredient in all our conversations. I am Okikiola Taiwo Jalukmo, and I welcome you to the show, especially as your host. And you know I'm never here alone. My scholars are here with me, Oluchi and Gus Beauty. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm doing
How do you feel about 4,000 people watching us, following us?
It's very remarkable, and thank you to all of our subscribers. I remember when we were on 2K subscribers.
Yeah.
Remember we did that video,
Yeah.
2K subscribers, and now we're double, and I'm envisioning 10K subscribers. So yeah,
1 million.
1 million.
Yes, that's it.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
So yes, this morning we're going to play a game of superpowers.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, let's have it.
So if you were going to be a hero or have any superpower, what would it be?
To read minds.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like when you're able to read minds, you know, of people, then you're able to literally do anything, because then you know who is after you, you know who is, going against whatever, you know who is about to do something. That way, you even before they even get to you, you know this person is coming, you know the intention of this person. Say if I'm to have any superpower at all, it's to read minds.
Because you want to be
Again,
super safe.
The mind of, the heart of man is desperately wicked. So, I mean, it's just important that you know whatever the person is planning first before it happens.
I want Oluchi to answer before I now relate it to why I asked that question. So tell me, what's your superpower?
Super strength
Hell, Chineke.
Why?
and telekinesis. You know that superpower.
Yes.
Now, one I asked
I
you.
want two. I can't have one. What am I using one for?
Oliver
Super
Twist.
strength.
Pick one.
Pick one.
Super strength.
Okay, why?
There are certain people I want to deal with. But
Eh,
I feel
way.
like because of my lanky body, they will beat me. So if I have super strength, I will show them one or two.
So the reason why I said that everyone should answer that first was sometimes the superpowers we want to have is always due to the lack we have in character or in person.
Yeah.
And I just noticed it in both of you's answer.
So
You
I
said
don't have
super
strength.
It just
mean
what it is.
physical. Let
I
me
know
so
what
if
to
they do
do.
me, I do you think for her. It's
Well,
not anywhere.
Anyway, witchcraft.
Why? Because you are Keisha. I don't know
Oh,
about
Jesus.
you. I just want to
So what does that speak to?
Tanzania. I'm gonna do Ayomi
I want
today.
you to analyze the super strength
So
the way you did ours. So
Eh,
if you want to
weh.
teleport, do you feel there's a default somewhere?
Yes,
with your
I'm not
appearances?
the limitation in reaching places.
Places,
is where
on
it's
time.
lacking in my character.
So why didn't you simplify our own like that? You have to go into deep character flows.
No,
You are
it's
using
not.
vacation.
I don't think
No.
it's the same thing, really.
It's
because
not a
to
flaw.
it's not a flaw
It's
at
you that
all.
is tagging it as a
No,
flaw
but she
right now.
mentioned that many times if you pick a particular superpower, it's
Yes.
because of a particular character flaw
No,
or
it's
defect that you have.
It's something that you're wishing to have. Exactly.
It's a lack, not a character flaw.
The reason I'm saying is that I just mentioned a particular superpower.
it will
But the
be.
way you stretched it, it was not giving some deep things. And now you mentioned your own superpower and you're making it feel light. You're mentioning vacation. You had to speak about strength and defensiveness. So I'm like, He said something deep about your own superpower.
It's a lack. The fact that financial lack.
Exactly.
To get,
I don't know how you're not able
it's
to
a
see
lack.
that.
You cannot see what I'm saying.
No, I
tell
see
me
it.
what you're
I see
Your
it. I see
superpower
it.
is very simplified.
Okay.
Even
Chineke.
with whatever default you are trying to sort. But let's leave
That's
it
why
at
I was
that.
asking that why. If you want this power, if that is something that if you wanted to have, you would get it, or if somebody could offer it to you, they'll give it to you. What would it be? And you said super
And you said,
strength.
and that's because it's something that you want. Deep down, take it or leave it.
Because of something that you lack.
Exactly.
She want to disappear and appear.
Because she doesn't have the money.
So
I'm-
finances is
Ebube.
Yes, it's my lack.
it's too simplified.
Oh, Jesus.
Hey.
I
There's a flaw in
please.
your
Let's
theory.
keep it
Your
moving.
superpower theory.
People of God, I am a very
There's a
simple
flaw in your
person.
superpower theory.
You see the issues?
There is a flaw.
These are the
Oh
issues.
my God.
Somebody
Let's
is a
revisit
very
it
simple,
again.
and I love what she was saying, because the book we're reviewing today is talking about how certain things should be simplified and not necessarily be complicated. It should not be overthought. It should not be, which you can see maybe when we're going the book, she can tell us who she is in
Yeah.
the book.
Yes, emphasis.
Yes.
If we look at it, where you're the one who you made it complicated from beginning. You mentioned superpower. I
Oh
thought
my
of
God.
Hulk from Avengers and said I want super strength. And you said I don't have strength. So who is complicating things now, Kiki?
I did not.
We are all
Anyways,
complicating things
this
from this
Friday,
table.
this Friday, today we're reviewing the book "Who Moved My Cheese" by Spencer Johnson. We'll share personal lessons and what the book can mean to a lot of people like Oluchi. But first, if you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV, please click that subscribe button now, like and share the link. We'll go on a break right now and we'll start off today's topic right after the headlines across the globe. Please stay tuned.
For progress, addressing energy.
Expensive. At least it's just to reduce costs.
We need light. Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
Well, glad to have you back from that break. Now, let us take a look at the news from the pages of today's newspaper. Today, we have Nigerian news for you. We have the Punch and, of course, the Guardian. Oluchi is going to be starting off with the Punch newspaper to make us happy this morning. You better make us happy this morning.
Even with
Has
the
there
punch, it's
ever
not
been a
sounding.
time
It's like
where
you're coming to punch us. So
when
that
the
is not.
newspaper is going to cause joy, I don't think so. The major headline reads, Midterm Review. APC fights back as Labour counters Tinubu's scorecard. Below that, we see ruling party, Ribadu defend Tinubu's reforms, NLC, TUC, Amnesty decry, worsening hardship and insecurity. Above that, we have Tinubu's cabinet, aviation sector struggles to stay aloft in turbulent skies, and WAEC under fire as exam chaos sparks outrage. There's also a very big display here on Tanitia. I don't know if I pronounced that well. I'm struggling to see it, but Tanitia Security Services Nigeria Limited gives a 2-year mentions a 2 years of outstanding service and achievement, a congratulatory message to Iyelawe of Garamati Kingdom, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And that basically just took all the attention from other pressing things that we wanted to discuss, but let's leave it like that. So the story here that is quite interesting has to be this WAEC stuff. I mean, we just finished JAMB, we're talking about WAEC again. And do you know who I feel should listen to this conversation, God's beauty? The guest we had, was it not Monday? The NANS executive that came out to say that the executives and people there are keen on having the registrar resign because he's not doing his job as regards UTME. And I remember our strong point that day was, why aren't you looking at this thing holistically? Hope it's not that NANS is having a problem specifically for this JAMB registrar. Because generally, the education system is not looking promising based on several things. Because I'm not sure the JAMB registrar has his jurisdiction for WAEC. And we're seeing another WAEC problem. So we're mentioning that day that beyond JAMB registrar, the Minister of Education and other commissioners involved, why aren't you people clamoring for their resignation as well if you think it's an authority problem? So now let me give you the full story of what happened. I think, oh my God, I think I missed the full story. Apologies. But basically, you know, it's been said that there was a fire. I don't even know how to explain it, but WAEC under fire as exam chaos sparks outrage. So firstly, what didn't make sense in this story is why people had to write exams late at night. So I read somewhere in the Punch, I don't know why I can't get the full story, that there was actually a delay in the English paper, also a particular paper. So that delay made them now stay back, you know, to write the exam, and eventually they had to use candles, lanterns, to actually write an examination.
I read a story where they mentioned that they were trying to tackle malpractices and making sure that the English paper or examination questions don't leak out, and at that point trying to ensure that do this, do that now caused the delay, therefore making the students write that exam at such a late hour.
I've gotten the full story. Let me show you what
Can we
the
even get
Punch
the time?
says. It says the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, and the National Association of Nigerian Students on Thursday condemned the conditions under which students in various parts of the country sat for this WAEC examination, calling the situation a national disgrace. Viral videos on Wednesday showed candidates sitting for the English language examination late at night without electricity, using lanterns and mobile phone flashlight. There was a worse scenario played out at Government Secondary School Namnia in Taraba State, where candidates narrowly escaped being injured after their exam hall collapsed during a storm on Wednesday evening. And the West Africa Examination Council attributed the delay in the conduct of the 2025 English language paper on heightened efforts to curb examination malpractices, particularly the leakage of question papers. And reacting to this public outrage, WAEC attributed the delays to heightened efforts to curb examination malpractice. In a Thursday statement, WAEC's acting head of public affairs, Moyoshola Adeshina, said measures taken to prevent paper leakage inadvertently impacted the timeliness and seamless conduct of the examination. This is giving the same tone as what, you know, people came out to, as what some certain authorities came out to say was the reason why UTME students failed. Remember, they used this whole malpractice line.
Yes.
I don't know why they feel like it's a very simple line to just use to try to cover up things. Even if you're trying to sort a malpractice problem, you know, leakages of examination question, why would you subject students to write examination in the dark? Let's even think about it health-wise now. There are some students that have eye problems, right? That's why many of them can't even read at night. So I even struggle sometimes to read, when we used to read with lantern then in secondary school. It was a very major struggle. So if I can't read during the day, I definitely can't do it at night if there is no light. So imagine having to subject people to that. And then if there's power outage at night, that means there will be heat. You can't take away the fact that people would feel all form of, you know, discomfort just because of an examination, and your claim is simply because you are trying to curb examination malpractice and everything. And then the other story that happened in Taraba State, where a student narrowly escaped because the hall collapsed on Wednesday morning. Yes, it says here in Taraba State, a student narrowly escaped. I'm like, wow, such setting to write an examination as well. So this is also a call to show that it's not just a UTME thing or a JAM thing that is happening. It's across board, the educational system generally. And the examination so far is just exposing what we already knew, that there's certain infrastructure is not being put as priority in many of the schools. And that's why we're having problems like this. I'm just very happy that nothing happened to a student. We've already lost a particular student from UTME suicide due to depression and everything. This would have been another loss.
We lost another to a trigger-happy police officer just
Imagine.
a few weeks ago.
This would have been another loss, and I'm very happy that this didn't happen. So let's see the update. Let's see if there's going to be a redo of this examination, or it's just going to be swept under the
Like, why
carpet.
exactly are students writing exam that late with candle?
They
This
said
is 2025.
it's
There's some
delayed.
news we should not be hearing.
It's delayed.
Alas, it's in the paper.
No, it's not. To be honest, I don't even find anything. I don't find this funny at all. Why do we have a minister of education if somebody is writing exam that late with candle? So there's no generator, there's nothing, there's no power supply. I'm confused. How exactly did we get there? How? Can they not shift the papers to the next day? Is there not tomorrow? I'm confused. Like, how exactly did we get here?
I think that because of timelines and not in any different, and I understand how emotional this can get when people are discussing it, but basically, yeah, we only can talk about it and try to highlight some of the problems that we already face in the educational system and hope that the government or the bodies that are supposed to be in charge of these issues take cue to ensure that it doesn't repeat itself for the next paper, for the next year, even in the future. Let me just quickly take us through the Guardian newspaper. We have the headline here reading, Ohaneze orders fall Tinubu's scorecard as APC blames past leaders, as usual. I said it yesterday already that there's a thing with blaming past leaders when something doesn't happen, either for loans or anything like that. I think
we had a comment about this particular. That's how they
It
punch.
sure would. It sure would. Well, man decries 18,000 in press ago, last Friday. Yes, last Friday. That IMF is saying that we don't have any back again loan. But basically, I just hope that with all these, there's too many problems from so many angles. And I wish that maybe certain government officials or people that are elected, especially from the presidential angle, can start to pick a problem at a time and completely finish. I think one of the problems that we have is that we have starting, we don't have finishing. And without finishing, it doesn't make any sense because leaving something halfway does not guarantee that you have solved that problem. You might even be opening the wall for more problems to, you know, to come in from that place. So I just hope that government officials, the president and his counterparts and other people that follow him from the back can know that issues with Nigeria should start getting solved one at a time. Don't say you do road, you do transport, you do infrastructure, and then leave everything halfway. And then when the next tenure comes in or something, you're like, you know, that last time we could not complete it. This next 4 years I want to complete. And another 4 years comes, it doesn't get completed. Then the next government that comes in or the next ruling party will now blame the former leader that is their person that caused it. So maybe we should stop this blame game and not start looking at solutions. But basically, that's all we have for the papers today. We need to go on a break so that we can come back with our book review. So yes, stay with us. We'll be right back shortly. I describe myself as a polyhumanitarian, someone who believes politics should be rooted in love for country and empathy for its people. I'm thrilled to introduce to you Politics Uncensored, a show dedicated to tackling the political challenges that matter most to Nigerians. This is more than just a show. It's a space for honest, unfiltered conversations about the issues that shape our nation. From policy reforms to elections, leadership tussles to governance at all levels, and the overall political landscape in Nigeria. We will dive deep into how politics is impacting our everyday lives. So join me on this journey as we challenge the status quo, spark dialogue, and work together to build a brighter future for Nigeria. Let's make our voices heard and drive the change we deserve. Well, welcome back to the show. As mentioned earlier, we're discussing a book that's become a classic in the self-help genre. It's a simple yet powerful story that offers valuable insights on adapting to change and navigating uncertainty. The book is Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. Published in 1998, Who Moved My Cheese has sold millions of copies worldwide and has been translated into over 4 and the challenges we face in life. As we navigate the maze, we must adapt to the change and find new ways to achieve our goals. The importance of being proactive. Change. The characters who are able to adjust to the changing environment and find new cheese are the ones who succeed. The book also emphasizes the need to let go of fear and complacency and to take risk to achieve our goals. In today's fast-paced world, change is constant and is essential to be able to adapt quickly. Who Moved My Cheese offers practical insights and strategies for navigating change and finding new opportunities. So whether you're looking to advance in your career, improve your relationships, or simply find more fulfillment in life, this book has something to offer. But I've said, well, quite enough for now. I've said my personal experience and what I learned from it. Well, I want to hear from my ladies too. So I'll start the discussion from here. Are you guys ready?
We are ready.
We are ready.
Yes, wonderful. So first, what was your initial thoughts on the book when we picked this book to read? What was your initial thoughts, and has your perspective changed after reading it, or you've always had it, or it was just like, yeah, it was just a confirmation of the characteristics that I already have?
I don't know what you're nodding your head at what.
Okay.
My perspective changed, even though I had some conflicts as regards certain things there. And I don't want to start this book from a point of criticism, but like you mentioned, my perception at first, it wasn't like I was just swallowing in everything that was there. I know a lot of people have complained that I don't simplify things.
Exactly. You always find,
No,
I mean, but
many
I like
times
it
it's
actually.
not like that. It's as a result of what you already have. Because the way we are
What you
wired as
already know.
human beings, you already have information. You already have things that have been formed in you from child through teenagehood to adulthood. So when you hear something new, you don't expect it not to conflict with what you have heard. I remember one particular panel session I attended one time, and I asked a question, and I noticed how the person was responding to me. She felt I was maybe being combative. And honestly, I wasn't. It's just that what she was saying sounded so good, but I needed her to know that I am coming from somewhere that had heard something else. How can you help me find a balance? So it's not trying to complicate things. I would put that out there. It's just that I had, a bit of conflict. But generally, I mean, a general overview, I think it's a very interesting read. And again, just like many of our reads these days, it was so hard to get the title into my head. I mean, we read Eat My Frog. Have you ate my frog?
Yes,
So
yes.
I'm like, is it who eats
It's
my
that
cheese?
frog.
Is
Is
it
that
who
who
eats my
eats that
cheese?
frog?
Eat that frog.
Lord.
Give us simple titles, but I mean, generally, it was a very good read. I had conflict, I had changed perception, and yeah, we can start the conversation from there.
Okay, Godspeed, I want to hear from you.
It's a very beautiful book. Right from the first time, I was introduced, to go get the book, right, from one of my interesting persons. And right from the time I read it or I come in contact with the book, I've always loved it because I think it's something in the book is something that almost everybody has an issue with. People have an issue with change. We know how change is constant, change is inevitable and all of that. But sometimes it looks like we're not able to even comprehend what it actually means. You get? So you're in a position and that's taken away from you and you're probably supposed to start from square one. But instead of you having to do that, there's that mindset of, maybe this thing will come back. Maybe I should just relax more. Maybe they will see my importance, And like I said, it's something that a lot of people are dealing with. But yes, that's why I really love the book because I am more concerned about having to make impact. I'm more concerned about people. I feel like we're that time and age where a lot of people don't see the importance of reading, We are just concerned about, what's going on social media. I mean, it's for people that, enjoy reading, you see changes in your life, you see how it happens. And that's why I really love this book, because it's one book that I think is important for people to, know about.
Okay, so personally, I think I switched between quite the characters, the 4 characters that they mentioned. I think they were, while I was reading it, I was switching between, okay, yes, this is me. Oh, no, 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 this is not me anymore. This is me, or this was me, or okay, no, I'm so happy that I moved from this part of us. We choose book where sometimes sometimes I'm like him, sometimes I'm like her. So how do you relate to these characters in this story? And if you were going to pick one of them, which would you say that you were in the story? Or if were you also like me, who also switch between those characters as you were reading the book? Let me start with God's Beauty.
I feel like you're not guilty. I feel like almost everybody, would actually see each of this between the mice and, the little people. Because if you look at him to start with, there's that fear, there's that resistance. You see something. So let's paint a scenario so that it's easy to just, infuse these characters in it. Now, you have a job and probably your boss comes in and say, oh, I like what you're doing here, but I think another person can, do it better. So I want you to just focus on this other part and you will leave the other part for this person. At first, you want to ask, am I not doing this thing well? The fact that you're in Nigeria, should they go reduce my salary, you get, because now you're no longer doing like probably multiple things. You're not streamlined to, doing one. So there's not so many questions that you want to ask. But then that's you being scared, that's you being afraid, But then, moving on is where you not get to her, asking yourself, oh, okay, what if I'm not afraid? What will I do? That's like the main quote in the book. Okay, if I'm not afraid of these things, now what's the next step? Of course that fear would come. Of course you'll be afraid. Of course you want to ask the questions. Of course you'll be confused. You're confused. Okay, what's the next step for me? What exactly do I do? Not that I'm just focusing on this one. But then if you're like her that says, okay, apart from the fact that they're giving me, I'm not at the spot now, no problem. So what do I do next? Is to pick up my hoe, pick up my cutlass. Okay, do I need to get a new job if I am not longer sustainable here? If I think that this is not sustainable for me anymore, do I get a new job? Do I get a new course? What exactly do I do to stay relevant? Do you understand what I'm saying? Then moving on to Scurry, that actually now sees this thing and start working on it. So it's one thing to say I'm no longer scared, which is for me, which I think is the part of horror. I'm no longer scared. I'm no longer afraid. I've seen now that it's important for me to move. I've seen now that change is sweet. I've seen now that in order for me to get a new maze, I have to let go of the old maze. Do you understand? For me to get the new job, I probably need to get probably more courses. If I'm to be taken out of this position, I need to probably get a new job. I need to get a new course. I need to get, be it relationship, it could be anything really, you get. Then that's for, Scurry. Then moving on to Sniff, at that point, you already know that this is what you need change. That's when you now start working towards intentionally now about, probably getting that new course. Where exactly will this place be? Drafting out your getting your writing board and just jotting things down. Okay, what amount of money do I need, for this course? What do I need to put down? Do I need to, take probably shift or, what exactly that would, help me get to this position that I need. So that's why I said that each of these characters are, different people. And that's what, just as it was stated in the book, there are different persons that are in each of these, each of these positions. It's either you are a Sniff or a Scurry or a whore or a hem, so at some point in your life you would be in that position. I've been there sometime last year, sometime early this year. But then what I know is, so you see one thing I love about between this Sniff and Curry, that's the mice, right? It's important that as an individual you are able to detect what exactly goes on around you. You are able to observe. I love people that observe a lot, and I think if you remember earlier this year, I told you guys something. There's something I've learned of recent, which is calmness. So I don't think that's something that people really emphasize on. And for you to be calm, it means that you're actually very, like I like to give this picture of, where you're sitting down, your legs, you're crossing your leg and you're just sipping a drink and you're watching the environment. That's what it is. That's what calmness is. And calmness really helps you to know what exactly the next action, what your next action should be. Because then you've already seen it coming. And that's one thing that's the difference between him, her, Scurry, and Sniff. Because if you look at these two different people, this one's already knew that, one day, this man's going to finish. One day, they might actually sack me from this job. One day, this relationship might end. Do you understand? So the other people, they're still there. They're still enjoying life. They're still spending the money. They forget that this money go finish one day. They're not cautious about having to, you know, upgrade themselves or skill themselves. If you remember, there's this story we took one time where the guy said he worked in the bank for complete 16 years and now he's confused on what to do. That's a very big difference, because you will not tell me that some of his mates that started with him, they're not doing other things, or they have not, you know, they have not probably been promoted or something.
So that's a huge characteristic.
Exactly. So we need to be very cautious of, you know, our environment. Okay, what's the next movement? For me, I've always loved to accept things, because when you accept that this particular place that you are, you can actually be taken out from there. You as an SME, something can happen to your business one day. So what's the next step? What's the next step? I think it's something that people need to ask we need to ask ourselves every time. Because then when you are able to, you know, observe your environment, know that this place you're saying is just temporary. Trust me, it will be easy for you to upskill. It will be easy for you to move forward. It will be easy for you to change. So that's something that I think that, you know, I got from each of the characters.
So I've heard so much from God's beauty.
Same
Aluchi,
here, my
Precious,
sister.
and Menko, tell us.
What do I have to say? Well, yeah. What are you asking me exactly, please?
How the characters relate to you?
Me
Yes.
personally. Well, I would not want to relate to him. Who would want to relate to him? But at some point in our lives, we have been him.
Exactly.
At different point when we feared doing, you know, something because we think it would lead to something worse. And I want to relate this to a quote I saw somewhere yesterday that said, if you were 30 failures away from your success, how fast would you fail? And that was like, oh, many times we glamorize failure and we make it feel like it's the end. And that 30 failures looked like it was very simple quote, but do you know what it means for someone to fail 30 times? You can have motivation the first 10 times and like, oh, maybe it's the next one. Maybe it's the 12th one. And sometimes you can be so unlucky that it's at the 28th failure that you give up. Do you understand? So it made me realize that fear is a major handicap for many people. And this story just, you know, highlighted it very deeply. So Hem is a character. Sometimes when you know how we read some of this fiction material is that you might want to criticize a character. At first, when I saw that Hem was still resisting the change, you know, we were not in Hem's world. We were reading this book outside of their world, seeing where the cheese actually was.
Yeah.
But in reality, how sure are we that Hawk could have even seen any cheese? So we're quick to think that, hey, follow on now. This guy has seen, maybe he has seen something that looks like it. But if you are actually in Hem's world at that point, he had been so comfortable in his zone. He's the managing director of a particular company. He has made so much money. This particular business had brought a lot of revenue. He should still bring another revenue next year. It seems quite understandable at that point. That's because we are not in his world. So it made me understand in a different light from what he was saying, that we're quick to come to conclusion and paint people in lights of, oh, you're not proactive, you don't have action. But if you're in their world, sometimes you realize that it's not easy for this person to come to this point at first. So, you know, the whole oversimplicity of, oh, Hem should have probably just followed her. I mean, you have seen that there's no cheese for how long? But the guy was having some, let's say, toxic positivity or some faith that maybe something else will come from that particular station that he was in. And then I love the character of Sniff and Scurry, because they predicted where they were going to fall. They knew that this cheese will be the chop. This thing will finish one day.
It's so sweet.
It's so sweet. It's going to finish one day. When it finishes, what next? And there was this speed to get into action. But that speed to get into action didn't happen instantaneously. It's not like they went there, they saw that there was no cheese, and they just got into action. I'm sure action would have been because they predicted. Brain was working with them to understand that, oh, we don't have this luxury anymore. It can be easy for us to change. So it's good to always have that kind of prediction. Going into the next, you've given very awesome illustrations in the workplace now, where you see certain things happening. You see that your particular skill doesn't meet up with what the company is offering. That's you predicting. Because if you were a boss as well, you know that this can't take you so far. So you are predicting that I might be handicapped if I remain in the same position. So it means that changing to learn something else, to advance, is going to be easier for you. But then I had to look at this as well, because the book is looking at life generally. It's not looking at just organizational structure.
Yes.
But also relationship. So I'm like, oh, is this something that I can really apply in relationship? And I want to bring it to a very relatable term. There are certain people that have been, I won't use the word toxic because we use it a lot. They've been in certain relationship for too long and they've predicted some things not going well. But you know, the relationship permanence is painted in a different way than organizational permanence. Especially if you're a religious person. It's assumed that stay with a relationship to watch it work. And I'm not referring to boy and girl relationship. I'm even referring to parents and child relationship. I was watching a movie very recently of a particular parent that got so frustrated because a particular child they wanted to do well wasn't doing well, and there was a point they gave up. I'm like, wow, this seems like fiction, but can it really happen in real life? Is this something that I can apply? Is there so much change that can happen when it now comes to relationship where there's a lot of bias, there's a lot of sentiment, there's a lot of emotions? Because this book somehow plays little on emotions and more on proactivity. And in relationship, that's not the narrative that we see. In relationship, a lot of things come into play that makes you overthink change, that makes you overthink adapting. I'm sure you've spoken to some people that are abused or in toxic relationship. It's not like they're not aware that where I'm in is a place that is going to bring me doom. Do you understand? But how do you expect me living when I have children? Like, how can I apply this change, adaptability, and proactiveness in this? I could relate to the book. So one part I really could relate to with Hall was when he laughed at himself. That part was really screaming me at different points because I've had certain situations where you mess up, you know, that's good, like, you have messed up big time. But I realized that I played it light too. I didn't put a lot of glamour to that mess up, to now cower and feel like it is over. I laughed myself to scorn, like, see this girl, you made the talk, look at the tabon where you go tabon, do you understand? Things like that make it easier to go through the emotion, because the book mentioned that even though Hall saw that there was, you know, there's change required, he was tired. The guy was hungry at some point, so it was very easy to give up at that point. Do you understand? He was already counting his fears. It was easy to give up. But what kept him going was that he just let it look like it's just life, right? And he kept taking lessons as he was going, was writing on the wall. I think it made it easier in the journey. So sometimes if we play things light and not make it look like there's a whole lot on your head, you'll see that you'll just be going through that change and get to that change eventually, and you don't realize that, oh, I've actually gotten there. So I related well to that, laughing at yourself to ease things out and not putting the whole world in your head. So that's how I relate to the characters.
Well, my ladies have said a lot, and that's why I said that I have to hear from them. And personally, I think what you have both said is most of the, in fact, everything that I also could relate to when I was reading the book. And there was something that we didn't mention, was the fact that Hall went back to, you know, Hugh to say, to him, to say, see, I found a bit, right? There could be more, right? Why don't you go with me? So it was not just like he went and came back with nothing.
Yes.
He came back with crumbs and said, there's crumbs, so it means that there could be more. Even if it looks like this one that we are at is over. And I remember that there was a poem I wrote about the dangers of the comfort zone. It was when I was also reanalyzing where I was as at that point in my life, and I was like, okay, I can get a call. People would welcome ma. Oh, please have this wonderful seat in front. And it looked like this was the life. This was all right by me. Until I started thinking that what if that topic that made you so known was not relevant again? What if that career path was not relevant again? And then people who were able to innovate are now the key people in that area. What's going to happen to you? And that's when the poem came about, when I now wrote The Dangers of the Comfort Zone. And also realizing that while you mentioned that he was, or him, I mean, was in that space where he just felt like, yes, this thing, why did they take it away in the first place? Why am I not relevant anymore? What took me out? It took out the fact that he could be the one that was lacking that thing. But then it was more like this place is fine. When we are fine where we are now, they should, whoever took that cheese away should bring it back. That's it didn't sound like faith in my own view. It sounds more like entitlement.
Yes,
Who took it
he
out?
was
Who said
entitled.
that course should not be relevant again? Who said that job or the fact that my BSc is not enough? Who was that person that said it? Bring it back. Whoever took it away should bring it back. So I feel like the comfort zone is one of the battles that we fight every day. We always think that we should be enough. Even in relationships, sometimes when you say, that's the way I am, I built myself to this point. Do you understand? So sometimes that comfort in the relationship might just be that thing that hinders or that limits the growth of that relationship. Sometimes I always try to reassess friendships. I try to reassess relationships. I try to reassess work ethics, the motivation that I get personally. Am I really getting the best out of what I've said that or my character now? Is my friend comfortable to talk to me? Is my relationship healthy enough, right? Do I need to work on something? Do I need to tell my partner that I've highlighted this problem? Just the way Hall was able to say, but we went somewhere. I struggled to get this, and I came back. There's better life somewhere. There's better character somewhere where we can build it. But people just feel like, I've been like this. The past 20-something years of my life is how I've survived. So I can't step out of that. If I step out of that, I can fail. And the truth is that you can't really fail. It's not that it's not every person that is hustling that will succeed.
That means it's possible Hall would not have found a change.
Yes, but you have to keep moving.
But what I learned is that the fact that some people, that's the role of mentors, to tell you that, see, it's not easy. And that was the role of Hall. It's not easy, but I found it somewhere that was better. I found somewhere that we could pick one or two, add it together to make something. And I like the fact that when he finally got to that
Section N.
Yes, I like the fact that they said it was section C to section N. It means that you can move from one point to the other. I studied chemistry in school, so sometimes when we were doing mathematics, and we know that they say from point A to point B, calculate the distance and the suffering that you suffer to get there. Sometimes the goal or the result of that thing is always so relaxing. It's always so, yes, we have gotten there. But he learned his lesson that even when they got to that end,
he was still observing.
Yes, you still have to observe that one day this thing can finish. And if it finish, you have to look for other means. If your BSc is not relevant anymore, how do we ensure that, okay, you get to your MSc, you get to your this, you get to your, regardless of the struggle,
how do you
pivot? Sometimes it's not even the MSc. Your BSc, is there a professional course that you need to add to it? Is there something free that if you get this thing is going to take you from 0 to maybe not 100, maybe another 10%, maybe another 15%. So celebrating like small milestones and making sure that that milestone is not where you just relax and say that, see, I've gotten to that point where I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to stay here. So the danger of just sitting and the danger of not opening up, because during the discussion phase, I saw where some of them were refusing to talk. They were waiting for one person to say something before the other person would say another thing. And then when people now started opening up to say that, okay, you know what? You see that business that you people thought I was always do is that we are reinventing ourselves. Well, right? So there's that change, even when you don't want to meet another, you experience change. Oluchi, you wanted to say something?
I wanted to say that I also realized from this book that your relationship can determine how far you get to that point. Because I think inherently, Hall was somebody that could have adapted to change, but he found himself as a friend of someone who didn't want to change, and that delayed his change.
Yes.
So that means it was possible that if Hall was friends to Sniff and Scurry, he would have probably got into his... Even if he was just a lone man, he would have probably got into his change quickly. But he was like him at some point. They were still talking, they were still finding who took our cheese, until he came to a self-realization. So that takes me back to what I've always believed, that your circle really matters. Many times, the reason why people fail is not because there's one destiny that has been written that you're meant to fail. Or it's also not because of a hard work thing or the fact that they're not relevant. But the circle they're in doesn't appreciate success, doesn't envision success. So many times, you are stuck with those people because they are stuck. So one thing I realized that Hall he was very lucky. He was lucky to come to that self-realization very quickly, to detach from him. And if you notice, there was the point where he could have gone back to him because he kept thinking of his friend.
Yes.
He was like, let me put some in my pocket, so I'll give to him. Somebody that doesn't want to change. He still had that tie, that connection that, when I left this guy behind, how can I? And you notice that if he had not broken out of it, he would have been stuck in that first maze with him and no success at all. So this is a cue for us to evaluate our relationship and our circle. How much of it is making me advance towards growth? Or is it the reason why I'm still stuck till date? That was one lesson I also took from the book.
Thank you. Gospel, do you have anything to add before we wrap up the show?
We should learn to be observers. That's what works for me, to be honest. A friend with you is not somebody that is envisioning success like you do. You will not be with him. If you're a great observer, you know that it's time for me to get a new course. It's time for me to leave this relationship. This person also beats me. This person is not worth my time. I feel like observing really just helps you. It helps you a lot, to be honest. I've learned to be a good observer. So for every time, and that's why I say before somebody says something, I already know what the person wants to say because I've observed your body language and everything to know that, okay, this person is coming with this. I think just being a good observer really helps you, navigate so many things. You know that, oh, this person could sack me anytime soon. Probably actually looking for a better job. Probably this particular, BFC or whatever certificates will probably expire soon. The world is evolving. It's time for me to change. So, yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
Well, to wrap up my own observation, this is me talking about the mice now, Scurry and Sniff. I liked how they somewhat delegated tasks for themselves. And this is to say that there is no friendship that is completely useless.
Yeah.
There is no relationship. If you can't identify where your strengths are, Sniff could quickly smell change that, bros, I don't go sniff this thing, no. This thing goes soon fit. Suffer is nearby. Do you understand? And then Sniff is like, you have told me. Straight up, timeliness. It's like, yes, let me get straight to action. Sniff does not have anything to do with the action. His own is just that, I smell it, suffer they come, suffer they come, and then Sniff is like, yes, we need to make this sale, we need to do this, we need to involve this group of people, we need to collaborate, we need to do that. And they were even accommodating. When they saw her, they were like, come, see new cheese, but you have to join us to also observe. So when you mentioned circle, it was like, even when you introduce somebody new to your friendship group, even when you have had it all figured out, also try to tap into the strength of that person too, to also say, okay, what is that thing that you are unique for? What's that thing? So when that person can also contribute and not look like the what they call that those people. Not necessarily third wheel. Like they will say that let's just let this person go. It's just that because if he had even come with him at some point, and 4 of them were together, and he was still like relaxed and didn't want to do anything, they will still complain that, see this person that you are following is not adding anything, it's not adding any value to this struggle of ours, it's not doing anything. So I just hope that this book, or how we have analyzed it, will encourage people to read the book and also help them to take maybe a different approach or improve their life, their relationships in general. And I'm sure that we all learned a lot from this conversation. So please ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. 4,000 people have subscribed, so that should give you the cue that you should also subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching us for the first time. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, follow us on all our social media handles showing right now on the screen. Remember to like, share, comment, and invite your friends and family to watch us. We'll see you again next week till we come your way again. Bye.